Betting on soccer, just like betting on any other sport, can be extremely challenging. We all want to be rolling in money, but oftentimes it's just not as simple as it looks. Today, I'm going to offer some pieces of advice on how to approach wagering on soccer, and hopefully we can make some money this year. Welcome back to a brand new video here on Circles Off. This is your home for sports betting education with myself, Rob Pizzola, a professional sports bettor. Now, before we get into it, full transparency, I am not a soccer expert, nor do I wager on soccer professionally. With that said, there are a lot of overlapping principles between soccer and other sports that I can speak to in sending you on the correct path. For starters, you absolutely 100% have to understand the role that randomness and luck plays in sports. Just like me, I'm sure you've consumed sports betting content for years. Whether that's watching games on TV, listening to post games on the radio, reading daily articles, whatever it may be. You've been told countless times that a team won the game because they wanted it more than the other team. And while there could be some semblance of truth to that, we cannot dismiss the amount of pure randomness in pro sports. Soccer is arguably more susceptible to randomness than any other sport because of the lack of scoring events in the game. Due to its low scoring nature, there are more random plays over the course of a soccer match that can swing things one way or another. Simply put, you need to have a mindset that understands this. There will be many times where you're riding what you think is a heater, but the reality is that those wins mostly consisted of lucky wins. And conversely, you could go on an extended cold streak where you're actually on point, your handicapping is great, but you cannot get a result. For each soccer wager that you make, I would suggest that you track a couple of things every single time. Number one, expected goals in the matches that you wager on. While expected goals is very much an imperfect metric, you can use the expected goal sums from both teams to get a general idea of whether or not you deserve to cash your bet. This is a good indicator of whether or not you got lucky. And number two, your closing line value. How often are you getting a better price than the price that is available right at kickoff? And how much are you beating or not beating the closing line on average? The next piece of advice I would give is to follow a piece of betting advice that I gave a month ago right here on Circles Off, and bet earlier as much as humanly possible. You need to understand that you are competing against some of the biggest betting groups on the entire planet when it comes to soccer. These are groups who have dozens upon dozens of quantitative analysts working for them, and essentially as many resources as they want at their disposal. Forget about your ego for a second and ask yourself, are you going to be able to predict soccer in a better manner than a boatload of statistical analysts? If you think you can, guess what?
I don't believe you.
Your advantage as a smaller bettor is that these groups need to wait until limits are at their highest to get the liquidity and the bet sizes that they need. This doesn't happen until closer to match kickoff, which means you have plenty of time beforehand to place your bets instead of waiting until the very last minute. Yes, there will be times you bet on a team and their star striker ends up being on the bench, but there's also going to be times when you bet on a team and the other team's star striker ends up starting on the bench. This balances out over time. If you're absolutely gung-ho about waiting until lineups to come out for each team, give yourself the best chance to succeed by reacting to lineup news as soon as possible. Remember, the betting market is extremely competitive. If you don't act quick enough, you'll get left in the dust. Finally, as my last piece of advice, I'd implore you to try making predictions on your own rather than paying for predictions. I'm sure there are some services out there that hold some value in soccer predictions, but the reality is upwards of 99% of them are not going to help you in the long run. It's hard enough to win at soccer already, but when you're paying for an additional service on top of the juice that the sportsbook is already charging you, the uphill climb becomes even steeper. The temptation to pay for picks or even use free public models on the internet is going to be high. But ask yourself, if these models were so good, if these picks were so good, why would people choose to give them away? Surely, in a market as big as the soccer betting market, they'd be much better off just betting their own models and their own picks themselves and keeping it tight to the vest. Again, there may be exceptions to the rule, but until you are savvy enough as a sports bettor to determine which services or which models hold value, just avoid them altogether. These 3 tips alone will not turn you into a winning soccer bettor overnight, but they're going to give you a much better chance to succeed in the long run. If you're not already, make sure you're subscribed here on the Circles Off channel. Click that bell to get notified of future videos, and stay tuned in the upcoming weeks as we pivot from European football to American football to help you improve your craft as a bettor. And as always, comment down below. If there's a topic you'd like to see me talk about, let me know. We do value your feedback.